Today we're talking about that creative meeting where work gets worse in real time. Not because the team hates it, but because nobody can say what good means out loud. So everyone gives creative feedback and the idea dies by 1,000 opinions. That's not collaboration, that's death by democracy. The common belief is that creativity is talent, something rare, something fragile, and that structure limits it, sterilizes it, or kills the magic altogether. But that belief is exactly why creativity collapses in real teams. Because creativity doesn't fail from lack of inspiration. It fails when nobody can decide what's good, what's wrong, and who carries that judgment. If you've ever sat in a room full of creative feedback, where opinions multiply, alignment vanishes, and the work gets worse with every round, this video is about that meeting. You leave the meeting thinking, okay, I thought this was settled, but then a few days later, it's back. Same idea, new doubts, new opinions. Because once your name is attached, that chaos stops being abstract and starts becoming expensive. What makes this hard to catch is that nothing looks broken at first. Meetings still happen, feedback still flows, everyone is engaged. A lot is said, everyone pitches in. On paper, it looks like collaboration. But something subtle starts happening. The decisions take longer. The outcome gets safer. The work feels heavier. Not worse in a dramatic way, worse in a quiet way. And because nothing obviously fails, people assume the problem must be creative. Not structural, not social. This misdiagnosis is what keeps this cycle alive. Most people think creativity is a gift, something you either have or you don't. And if that were true, structure would be dangerous. But creativity isn't fragile, it's undefined. And when something isn't defined, judgment fills the gap. Here's how it usually starts. People move into creativity before they finish deciding. They don't choose a narrow message, they collect possibilities. One more angle, one more benefit, one more safety line. Because choosing creates accountability. Collecting keeps things socially safe. And when you are inside it, this feels responsible. Leaving things out feels risky. Including everything feels safe. Nobody gets blamed for being thorough. So the message grows. Then the creative phase starts. And instead of asking, are we clear on the message? They start something else. Did we include everything? That becomes the finish line. Not judgment, coverage. Creativity doesn't fix that. It exposes it. That's not building a message. That's avoiding a decision. Then the process breaks. Creation begins before deciding how decisions will be made. So the room fills with open questions. What do you think? How does it feel? Any thoughts? Those questions sound collaborative, and from the inside they feel inclusive. No one gets excluded, no one takes a hard stance, but they contain no direction. So everyone answers a different question in their head. Ideas scatter, nothing converges. And when nothing converges, inspiration becomes the excuse. People wait for it, they hope for it. But inspiration doesn't work on demand. You can't schedule it, you can't repeat it, you can't defend it. Open questions aren't collaboration, they are liability management. An open process doesn't create creativity, it creates deniability. Then the work enters the room, and this is where things turn social. People are asked to judge without deciding how judgment works. Silence looks like incompetence, so people reach for taste and personal opinions. Not because they're careless, but because they are visible. They need to contribute something, anything. Judgment turns performative, alignment never lands. And slowly, creative stops defending the idea and starts defending themselves. Because at that point, the work isn't the only thing being evaluated. You are. When judgment has no rules, opinions become proof of value. When this keeps happening, people rarely blame the judgment itself. They blame personalities. This team is too opinionated. That person is difficult to work with. Creatives are too sensitive. And stakeholders, well, they just don't get it. But notice what all those explanations do. They personalize a structural failure. And once you do that, the system never gets fixed. People just get replaced. But the room stays the same, and the outcome stays the same. Just the faces change. To make it worse, the room gets bigger. Not because better judgment is needed, but because safety is. If enough people participate, responsibility diffuses. And when responsibility diffuses, judgment turns political. Authority fragments. Taste gets louder, and the loudest voice wins by default. The bigger the room, the smaller the ownership. So if creativity keeps breaking around you, it's probably not because your ideas are weak. And it's probably not because people aren't creative. It's because judgment is everywhere and owned by no one. And because nothing ever fully settles, the work doesn't end when the meeting ends. It follows you home. Once you see that, you can't unsee it. You stop listening for taste and start listening for ownership. Not who has the strongest opinion, but who is willing to stand behind a judgment when it stops being comfortable. That's usually not the loudest person, and it's rarely the most creative one. Well, at least not in the way most people mean that word. It's the person absorbing all the mess so the work can stay clean. That's where creativity actually lives.